So I know many of you may already own Bitcoin, own gold or silver, but I know a lot of you don't at the moment. And the conversation may be coming up around you. You may already be curious. You may be doing research already. The intent of this live stream is to dive deep into why Bitcoin, why gold, why maybe Bitcoin over gold, and to give context in the place that they're looking like they're going to hold going into the future and why it makes sense to own either one or potentially both. Important context in this live stream is to give clarification on the debate / argument around Bitcoin or gold for those of us that may be concerned about the existing financial structure, the existing order of things in total. We're going to be talking about this from a very healthy, responsible perspective. I want to give context. I am not a gold expert nor a Bitcoin expert per se. I'm a financial professional. My background is actually in banking. But that having been said, because of my career path as a banker, I have been forced to have a decent education around the economic system, the history of the economic system, the current circumstances around the economic system, the banking system, financial system, etc. This has led me down a path where I have to understand money from a multitude of angles to serve my clientele base. So I want to make it abundantly clear. I'm not going to give you a masterclass on how Bitcoin works or necessarily how gold works. But I'm going to give you enough context in this video to be able to make a smart decision around what you should be owning and what understanding you should have on what you're owning going forward. Okay. So I've done a live stream already on gold and the argument for gold. I've done a live stream recently on the argument for Bitcoin and the focus on Bitcoin. What's going on, my God? Who is this? James Murphy, my man. Good to see you, James Murphy. Everybody coming into the building slowly but surely. Make sure you leave a like on the video. Let me know you're in the building on the chat. James, it's good to see you again. So to get straight into this, the first thing we need to understand is why the argument for Bitcoin or gold in the first place. That's really important. It's context around why you would put a penny of your money into gold or Bitcoin in the first place. The first thing you need to understand is that gold and Bitcoin shows a lack of confidence in the existing financial order. That is the first thing you need to understand if you're not already familiar. You are buying gold or Bitcoin, generally speaking. Now, there's people out here just gambling and betting to, take their shirts off their back about it. But those of us that are proven and really looking for legitimate options, we're looking at gold and Bitcoin because we are not confident that the existing financial order of things is going to continue to persist as it does. What are we referring to? We're confidence in the dollar, confidence in the total financial system, confident in the government's enormous debt levels, confidence in everything that is tied to our day-to-day financial lives. We're not very confident in it. Everybody coming in the building, make sure you leave a like. So that having been said, you're going to be looking for somewhere to park your money that will retain value and possibly ascend in value over time as the financial system shifts, collapses, revamps, whatever it's going to do. You're looking for somewhere to park your money that isn't going to be drugged down by the existing order when it changes or collapses. Does that make sense so far? So if you're worried about the confidence in the US dollar, which is really kind of at the heart of things, if you're worried about the US economy, if you're worried about the financial order globally, then you are going to be looking for somewhere to put your money that is going to have a store of value, that's going to have some level of utility, and that can be recognizable anywhere in the world. That is where gold and silver and Bitcoin come into the conversation, or for simpler terms, precious metals and Bitcoin come into the conversation for most of us. Let me see. The current insider trading going on in our administration makes me want to invest in gold instead of our stock market. So this is another point. One of my pioneers has already started talking about how a lack of confidence from insider trading in the government, how a lack of confidence is leading to a desire to want to invest in gold. Here we go right out of the gate. We're already talking about the link between a lack of confidence and investing in something like gold or silver or precious metals or buying Bitcoin. At the end of the day, this is the underlying basis for it. It's fear. It's a lack of confidence, right? So that having been said, I've had people already commenting on previous live streams, bashing one or the other. Bashing gold is trash, bashing Bitcoin or looking at Bitcoin in a speculative way and less so in a responsible manner. So this is what we need to address in this live stream. Does it make sense to invest in Bitcoin or gold or precious metals and Bitcoin, excuse me, and under what context we need to do so? So let's look at the overall landscape of why we would invest it all in more, broken down bullet point by bullet point terms. Owning gold and Bitcoin is often considered important for portfolio diversification, hedging against inflation and economic uncertainty, and as a potential store of value that operates outside of traditional financial systems. So what that basically means is I'm reducing third-party counter risk. If I don't believe the banking system is going to hold up, if I don't believe the government's going to be able to sustain the national debt and not collapse, if I don't believe the US dollar is going to hold any of these things or all of these things at one time, then that's going to inspire me to want to put my money somewhere where I don't have to worry about that system, the existing order, dragging down my purchasing power. I want to retain the wealth that I have. And if I can grow it, even better, that's great. So you look at something like gold or Bitcoin for that reason. Y'all make sure y'all leave a like. If y'all coming in the building, make sure you leave a like. I can't pronounce that. I don't know what you got going on with the name, but hello, how you doing? Dog Shorties, whoever this is. So appreciate you coming into the building. Y'all make sure y'all leave a like as y'all coming through. So that's the basis. Let's talk about the importance of owning gold. Gold has a long history as a reliable, stable asset, making it a traditional safe haven investment, hedge against inflation and currency debasement. Gold supply is naturally limited, unlike fiat currencies, which central banks can print in unlimited quantities. This inherent scarcity helps it maintain value when the purchasing power of the paper money declines due to inflation. What that basically means is what we're experiencing right now. What it means is the current place that I'm storing my value, which is in the paper currency that the order or the system that we're in provides, is easily manipulated. It's easily duplicated. It can be printed at any number at any given time, diluting the value of that currency. So that basically means that I put $100 of effort into something and I got $100 bill for it. I'm expecting that $100 bill to be able to give me $100 in goods and services. If the government or the central bank can print or manipulate that currency to no longer get me $100 in value, maybe it gets me $90 or $95. That means that my store that's no longer a good store of value, the currency. Does that make sense? Is that a decent analogy for y'all? It means that place that I'm storing the value, the labor I exchanged, whatever it is I gave to get that $100, is no longer giving me $100 worth of stuff. So I need somewhere to put it where I'm going to get my same $100, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now. This is where gold comes into play. Safe haven during uncertain times. Lack of security. We talked about this. In times of geopolitical turmoil, we're experiencing it. Market volatility, we're experiencing it. Or recession, likely in one. Investors often flock to gold to preserve wealth. Its price tends to hold steady or rise when other assets like stocks are falling. We already talked about that. So the stock market is less stable than Bitcoin and gold, and I think both are a better option. We're right on par, James Murphy. Right on par with each other right now. So this is another example. I'm looking to put my money into something when things are unstable, economically, geopolitically, the market, recession, whatever. I need somewhere that's going to be able to hold steady or maybe even gain value to protect the value that I poured into this money. I need something that's going to hold. Store of value. Gold has been recognized as a store of value for thousands of years, given it has strong psychological and historical foundations of trust. It's already proven. For those who say gold is trash, it's proven. Nothing else out there is proven like gold, precious metals, and land, to be honest. It goes back as far as human civilization. Okay, physical and industrial utility. It's always got a use case. Can we say the same thing about companies in the stock market? Can we say that same thing about all cryptocurrencies? Gold, physical precious metals always has a use case. If nothing else, it has industrial utility. Beyond investment, gold has diverse applications in jewelry, electronics, dentistry, which provides an underlying consistent demand. This is something that can't ever go to zero. There's not a lot of assets you can say that about. This is something that literally cannot ever go to zero. It will always have some kind of value. You can't say that about a lot of assets. All right, let's jump over to Bitcoin. The importance of owning Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a newer digital asset often referred to as digital gold due to its similar characteristics and its emergence as an alternative to the traditional financial system following the 2008 crisis. Very interesting. Decentralization and independence. Remember, we talked about third-party risk. We don't want that if we're concerned about the existing infrastructure in the financial system or the overall economy or the government. We don't want something that our money is attached to by third party that we no longer trust. So decentralization and independence. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer system that operates without central authorities such as governments or banks. This provides a form of security and control over personal assets that is independent of traditional institutions. This is important because my insecurity is in these traditional institutions, the government, the banking system, large corporate. I don't have trust that they're managing things effectively. So I need somewhere to park my money that doesn't rely on them. Fixed supply and scarcity. There will only ever be a maximum of 21 million Bitcoins in existence, a hard-coded limit that prevents arbitrary supply increases and acts as a hedge against money printing and related inflation. We're going to get into this a little deeper when we talk about scarcity for gold, precious metals, and Bitcoin. But pay attention to that. Growth potential and innovation. This is the one I think gets most people's attention. While highly volatile, Bitcoin has shown significant long-term growth potential and high returns since its inception. Owning it offers an exposure to emerging financial technology and potential upside of growing modern asset classes. So basically, the speculative end of the spectrum, meaning that I can put my money into it and it can be a lot more money down the line. That's what's attracting a lot of people right now. Portability and accessibility. Bitcoin can be transferred globally at low cost with an internet connection, offering high mobility and accessibility compared to logistical challenges of moving large amounts of physical gold across borders. This is a fact, a valuable fact. Y'all make sure y'all leave a like as y'all keep coming through. So features, let's give a quick rundown comparison of features. Historically, thousands of years as money and store of value is gold and precious metals. Bitcoin is relatively new. 2009 was the origins of its discovery. Volatility, relatively stable is gold and silver or precious metals. Highly volatile is Bitcoin. Physicality, physical asset requires storage or insurance. That's gold. Digital assets portable and easily transferable. That's Bitcoin. The role gold, precious metals has proven safe haven and portfolio stabilizer. Bitcoin, growth potential, exposure to tech, and anti-dollar. So that's the feature background. So let's stop and just digest what we just went over for a second. We're talking about places to be if I no longer have trust in the overall system on whatever level. You don't believe in the geopolitical thing makes you nervous. You think World War III is about to break out. You know, the government's behavior politically, the government's behavior, you know, when it comes to the economy, taxes, you name it, currency stability, you know, anything you can think of in the overall system as a whole that makes you restless and you need somewhere for your money to be, that you're going to wake up in the morning or wake up over time and your money's going to retain value. This is where it comes in. There's other benefits to each of these asset classes. We kind of went over some of the utilities. We're talking about the future growth potential. But at its baseline, prudent investors are looking somewhere to park their hard-earned wealth that will transfer anywhere around the world and transfer to any financial system. Gold and Bitcoin check those boxes. So let's talk about scarcity for a second. Scarcity is important. Why? Because this goes to the upside potential of gold or precious metals and Bitcoin. In order to understand scarcity, one thing we need to look at is the size of those markets. How much money is already in those markets? For gold, the gold market size right now, or at least as of 2023, so this is a little dated, is $276 billion. That's how much money is in the overall market of gold. And when we look at silver or the collective overall precious metals market, we're looking at $306 billion again as of 2023. So projections is expected to over $500 billion by 2032. Honestly, that number might even be higher than that. But we're talking about the larger market from an investment point of view and industrial. So the precious metals market, honestly, is extremely small. It's extremely small. And I want to give you some context on small. Let's see. So the New York Stock Exchange alone has a market cap value of more than 20 trillion US dollars. How small is the gold market, precious metals market at $300 billion? The stock market is at 20 trillion US dollars. That's just the US stock market. That's not the stock market anywhere else in the world. That's the difference, the deficit of scarcity in a sense. Now, we also need to look at how much gold or silver exists as well, but just focusing on market size. And I'm going to get you to understand why this is important. Let me give you some more context real quick. What's the size? What is the market size of Bitcoin currently? $20 billion. $20 billion. So let's put context real quick. $20 billion for Bitcoin, $300 billion for precious metals, $20 trillion for the US stock market. I don't know how many of you can do the basic math. We're talking about a magnitude, orders of magnitude in difference. We're talking about a third of $1 trillion when it comes to the precious metals market, and barely a blip on our radar for the Bitcoin market. $20 trillion in just the New York Stock Exchange. That's not even talking about bonds. We're not talking about, well, maybe we're including bonds in the stock exchange. But what about real estate? What about some of these other asset classes? At the end of the day, what I'm trying to get you to understand is it only takes a fraction of the stock market to get scared. It only takes a fraction if just a couple $1 trillion gets scared out of the stock market. If enough happens where a couple $1 trillion just wipes out of the stock market, cashes out, and jumps into Bitcoin and gold at the same time. That grows those markets exponentially, magnitudes overnight. So when we talk about scarcity, one dimension of it, market size, gold and Bitcoin, precious metals and Bitcoin are both babies compared to just the stock market. That's not real estate. This is essential to the argument of the upside potential of gold, precious metals, and Bitcoin. So for those of you trying to figure out what you should be investing in, clearly the argument is both. A balanced, prudent investor is going to see the value in both. There's no way you're going to make an argument that there's no room to invest in gold and precious metals. There's no logical argument to say that I'm not going to park some of my money for the upside potential in precious metals. There's not. Same can be said about Bitcoin. And I know some people who are diehard precious metals enthusiasts that just still to this day argue that Bitcoin has no place. I was skeptical myself in the past. But as you educate yourself and you watch the adoption creeping in, I've already talked about JP Morgan and all these other large institutions embedding crypto now as collateral, and these exchanges popping up. We already know precious metals has a ton of industrial use, and the investment demand, the market for investment demand is this big. So it doesn't take a lot of money to jump in on something that is finite, by the way, to jack up the value. Something else most of you may not be aware of is there's exceptional demand for precious metals by central banks. So you have big banks and private companies pouring into Bitcoin and digital assets, right? For those of you, again, who keep arguing that gold has no basis, Okay, how is that the case when as things become less stable and less certain, and maybe a preparation for a reset is kicking in, central banks are buying gold hand over fist. Countries are buying gold and silver hand over fist. Why not just Bitcoin if that's the answer by itself? Gold and silver are proven stability. Proven stability. Bitcoin is speculative. Yes, it has a ton of use case for in a monetary, in a financial world, but it's not proven. It's not even 20 years old yet. It's not at a point where governments and central banks can lean their shoulder, can lay their hat on it and be certain. Gold has been proven for thousands of years. No matter what financial system has been born, has risen and passed away, gold and silver have proven themselves. Central banks know this. So let's dive into this as a use case for precious metals. Central banks buy gold for stability, diversification, and hedging against the dollar dependency and inflation, as gold is a physical asset with historical value and no counterparty risk. In contrast, individuals and other entities often buy Bitcoin for its potential for high growth, its role as a digital alternative to traditional finance, and its diversification from traditional markets, despite its higher volatility and technological and regulatory risk. Central banks are not about to gamble their head on digital currencies anytime soon. Will it get adopted? Will it get used? Sure. Maybe we will have a digitally backed, or a gold-backed digital currency or digital rollout of some sort in the future. Maybe, but I can assure you that precious metals gold will be in the picture. It's a proven playbook. Bitcoin will grow in value through adoption and be a great place to be for investment growth. And I see tons of financial adoption of Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, when we start talking about system revamps, financial system overhauls, when we start talking about this, no way you're going to have this conversation and you can't think that gold is not going to go through the roof and silver is not going to go through the roof. I just told you how small these markets are. And countries and central banks are buying this stuff by the ton, by tons of tons. When they roll out at some point in time, what they're holding and roll it into the system for backing, for some kind of support, as collateral, whatever they do with it, because they're not buying it for nothing. They're not buying and storing it for nothing. It's going to have a use case. So when that happens, I'm curious what you think is going to happen to the price of gold and silver. What do you think is going to happen to the price of gold and silver when central banks and countries roll out, when fiat currencies are challenged, or maybe even on their deathbed for some period of time? Maybe we transition into an all digital world. Gold and silver is going to be behind that. What do you think happens to the price? When a market this big, $300 billion, gets billions upon billions upon billions, maybe even trillions of dollars crammed into it in a short window of time, in a finite fixed asset, a finite physical asset, what do you think is going to happen? So the same thing when billions and billions of dollars gets poured into Bitcoin from its adoption. So the goal is to be, thank you, Lotus. It's a gift to have you in the building. I didn't even know you were here. Thank you. So the goal, speaking of your comment, if I had you as a client and I was making an argument for you to diversify yourself from stocks, bonds, even real estate, which I believe all will continue to have their place, by the way. I don't think they're going to just up and disappear. But if I was making an argument for you to store value, your hard-earned money that you saved in legacy financially, which a lot of financial leaders and hedge fund leaders are doing, by the way, they're telling their rich clients, yo, the 60-40 stock and bond thing, not working anymore. It's not a good place to be anymore. They're encouraging 10, 20, 25% ownership in gold. So everybody that's smart, with a handful of exceptions, is investing in Bitcoin on a speculative level. They're taking 3 to 5% of their portfolio if they have any real money and they're playing with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. They're betting on gold and silver. It's proven. There's an enormous argument for gold and silver. So if you're my client and I'm having this conversation, I'm sitting here telling you what I just presented over the last 20 plus minutes. And I'm sitting here telling you, based on whatever your financial picture looks like, we need to start betting on a changing world. We need to start betting on a transition of the financial system and the current financial order, world order, coming at some point soon, because it's unsustainable as it's functioning now. And there's only a handful of assets that you can truly rely on to transition over to that new system. Land, various forms of real estate, precious metals. Bitcoin is likely going to make it. And there's probably going to be stocks. Other than that, other barterable goods. Food storage, ammunition, you name it, depending on how chaotic it gets. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for financial answers, financial guidance, the conversation would be, you need to start incorporating gold, silver, and Bitcoin. How do you invest in them? Gold and silver, physical ownership. Worst case scenario, have it stored somewhere. Yes, pure play stocks make sense for gold and silver. What are pure play stocks? Companies directly invested. Their business model is mining gold and silver. Some kind of direct ownership or hands-on grip on gold and silver. Not indirect, but hands-on. Yes, you want pure play stocks in precious metals. Physical ownership, storage, and pure play stocks. What about Bitcoin? Physical ownership, digital ownership, pure play stocks, possibly ETFs that track the price in the exchanges. We want to get as close to it as we can, realistically, where we can store value and also ride the wave up when these assets grow. Because they're going to continue to grow. Why are they going to continue to grow? Because the US government and governments around the world are going to choose inflation 10 out of 10 times to manage the financial system. If nothing else, then we're not talking about geopolitical instabilities, World War III breaking out. We're not talking about another pandemic that shuts the world down. We're not talking about any of the crisis scenarios. We're just talking about the normal, everyday function in the office. Governments will always choose to inflate if they have to choose. They're scared to pass on the real taxes to us that they would need to do in order to make up for their financial decisions and their debts that they're piling up. So how do you still tax us without taxing us? You inflate away the currency. What makes the debt easier to pay back? Inflating away the currency that the debt is paid in. Governments are going to do this by default. If that argument alone tells you that gold or precious metals and Bitcoin are going to do just fine in the future, that's where part of your money needs to be. I'm not telling you to give up all your stocks. I'm not telling you to sell off your firstborn child. I'm not telling you to get off your land. None of that. What I would be telling you is that stop trying to pick between Bitcoin and gold. Let's start there. Stop trying to pick between the two of them. They both have tremendous place in this system. Gold is time-tested and proven, which creates trust and stability and has no third-party risk. Bitcoin has the future. Bitcoin has the future. They both have a perfect place in your portfolio. Stop trying to pick between the two. Focus on having enough money and resources and understanding and education to prudently invest in both, because they both have a place. That's the first thing. The next thing is understanding the base case between the two. Gold and silver will be transitional investment places to be. There will be transitional asset classes. What that means is that there will be a window of time where gold and silver are going to perform really well, and then it's going to go away. It's not going to be a long-term situation. What I mean by that is it's not going to, gold and silver will not continue for 50 years from now after the transition of the financial system to continue to be climbing in value and doing all these great things. It's not going to work that way. Gold and silver will be a place where everything gets piled, all of this money and energy gets piled into for a period of time. The system will transition, revamp itself, and all of that money is going to come crawling out of gold and silver into other assets again. It's going to be a transitional asset. It's going to be a timely asset. It's going to be a place to be for a moment in time. That's why you need to get yourself situated with it and watch the markets, watch the economy prudently. Because it's going to be somewhere to be for a period of time. That period of time could be weeks, months, couple years, but it will be a period of time and then it will go away. Bitcoin will likely be the future. Blockchain, Bitcoin will be the future. It is likely where the new financial system will overlay itself. It will overlay on top of the infrastructure of a Bitcoin, a blockchain. That's something that may be worth holding for a longer period of time, because it's going to have so long for it to continue to get adopted into the system. And as it continues to get adopted, the $20 billion market it is today will eventually evolve to trillions. And it will likely stay that way. Gold and silver will go back to its industrial world probably at some point. It will not continue to be, this enormous asset opportunity or investment opportunity for decades and decades to come. It's a good place to park when things are horrible. They won't be horrible forever. Things will eventually revamp, collapse, rebuild, stabilize itself, and then gold and silver going to go back and chill out in the industrial cut that it was in and continue to be a use case there. Bitcoin, blockchain will continue to grow for some time to come, most likely. So if this makes sense to you, gold and silver will be transitional. Bitcoin will probably be lasting for a period of time, but you want both. You want both. Where we sit right now in the helm of the storm, you want to position yourself in both. You're asking Salon a long term. Listen, I'm not going to get into weeds on this live stream about other cryptocurrencies, etc. I just want to make the argument because Bitcoin is the premier cryptocurrency, and it's the only one with the argument of Ether or Ethereum that's getting mainstream adoption at the moment. I don't want to get into maybe these other cryptocurrencies will have a place as well, but we really don't know. What I do know is Bitcoin is showing all of the promise of actually lasting or actually being built upon and integrated. So I just want to make the argument for it. And those of you who are smart enough, savvy enough, informed enough, you can do your due diligence and look into other cryptocurrencies. Maybe a base case. I am just here to make the argument that gold, precious metals, and digital asset, Bitcoin, blockchain, are showing the promise to be held in a portfolio right now into a transition, a potential collapse, reset, whatever we're going to call it. Things are going to change. The way they function now will not be sustainable. The national debts we see, the global debts we see, the detached stock market that's unrealistic from the real economy, the geopolitical tensions, all of the things going on. We can be certain the currencies burning away and inflating away, at a rapid pace right now. De-dollarization, the US dollar losing its global reserve currency status. All of these different factors are making an argument that money is going to be looking for somewhere safe and stable to store itself. Money, wealth, that value doesn't disappear. It needs somewhere to go. All of the value, all of the economic activity going on in the world is real. So when the currencies evaporate, all of that value has to go somewhere. And I'm just letting you know that there's been a lot of argument, a lot of contentious debates around gold and Bitcoin and precious metals and Bitcoin. Both are brilliant. You hold either or both, and you're going to be a genius at some point in the future. Simple. You own or hold both or either one, you're going to be a genius some point in the future. Gold and precious metals will be a transient opportunity, will be a time place for it. Bitcoin, blockchain, likely going to be adopted longer term into the actual financial system as financial assets at scale. Gold and silver, precious metals are going to have a bunch of money pile in and eventually make its way out. That's likely how that's going to go. So my argument for this live stream is intended to encourage many of you as possible. Digital Boy, I haven't seen you in a minute, but I agree with you. Silver is the poor man's gold for sure. And I also have been buying silver quite consistently for quite some time. I agree with you. Gold is a great place to be, but silver is like the Bitcoin from the investment growth side. Silver is like the Bitcoin of precious metals. When gold takes off, silver is going to do very, very well because it is very, very much drastically underpriced right now. So shout out to you for coming in, Digital Boy. Make sure y'all leave a like as y'all coming in. I agree. Silver is a great place to be. If you're looking for real upside potential and not just stability, silver has a lot of promise and it is very affordable for the everyday person. Very affordable. Even at $30, $40, and $50 as it's hovering around at the time of this live stream, you can still take $100 a month or a couple $100 a month and stock up on silver quite handsomely over the course of months or years. I know I've been doing it firsthand. For those of you who are curious, besides my background as a banker, a business banker, FINRA investment license, mortgage license, all of that stuff, the traditional financial system, I've been personally in the precious metals market since 2015. I've been personally and studying and in the precious metals market since 2015, where I've been going to buy my precious metals, silver most of the times. The shop that I've been buying it for, I've been buying it somewhere online recently. I've gained the confidence to do that. But I've been going in person to buy it since 2015. The people in that shop know me very well when I walk in. So shout out to you, Digital Boy, and any of you who have been taking the time to actually buy physical precious metals. And again, doing your due diligence and homework to look into what's called pure play stocks if you're looking for investment growth. These are going to be companies with direct hands in mining Bitcoin, mining gold and silver. They're direct owners, miners, producers of these financial assets. They will be a good place to be, for sure. Anybody want to give additional feedback on their perception or their place on Bitcoin, precious metals as an investment vehicle, or a place to be as a system overhauls or potentially collapses and transitions? I want to see anybody down the chat. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about what I covered on this live stream. Anybody watching the replay, get in the comment section down below. I'm very responsive there as well. But I'm curious before y'all get out of here. Let me know what some of y'all are thinking. The Digital Boy already told me he's buying silver like crazy. James Murphy, early on, you told me that you were seriously considering buying gold based on how you're feeling about the stock market. Do you own any gold, silver, or Bitcoin currently? Let me know where y'all at right now in y'all current holdings. I personally do not own Bitcoin itself, but I do own pure play stocks of Bitcoin. That is where I feel comfortable at the moment. Gold and silver own physically, and I have pure play stocks that I'm investing in with that as well. That is my current position right now. So let me know down in the chat what y'all got going on. Lotus Flower, if you're still in the building, let me know where you may be with it. Love to have your commentary when you jump in. Harold Fee, my God, what are you doing in the building? I very rarely get you on live streams. What's going on, my God? How you doing? So just to wrap this up, hopefully I gave some great context for those of you who, as I always say, had the attention span to watch to the end. I covered a lot without trying to get into the weeds. This live stream probably could have been hours long, to be honest, to get into the weeds on precious metals and Bitcoin as an investment vehicle. But I wanted to give as much context as I could and argument and base to owning these assets. Stop debating and fighting about which lane to get in. You don't have to do that. They're both great places to be in their own respective ways or perspective ways. Digital currencies, Bitcoin in particular, blockchain, precious metals have great arguments to be invested in either one. And that was the point of this live stream. I did them one by one. I did live streams on one by one. I wanted to give context on why owning both makes sense. I have invested in gold mining companies. Yes, William Baker, I have as well. I have definitely been invested in gold mining companies. I'm still looking for companies as we speak. They're relatively cheap. And when gold and silver start to go through the roof, those companies are going to do very well for themselves. I agree 100%. Y'all make sure y'all leave a like. More of y'all have been coming into the building. Make sure y'all leave a like as y'all coming in. Thank you, Lotus Flower. I appreciate that. I like to get the feedback just to make sure that we're on the same page or that you're getting some real value from this. So thank you for for confirming that you've gotten value from this and you agree. If you get time, look up Florida law to go into effect. Yes. Yes. This is why I love y'all so much. I like y'all. Y'all are wonderful. Digital Boy, I am already on top of it. Florida has passed legislation making gold and silver legal tender. How many of y'all knew that besides Digital Boy? Gold and silver in Florida is legal tender. And I do believe, especially in the next few years, other states may mess around. How many of you knew that Texas created a gold depository for itself recently in the last couple of years? How many of y'all knew that? Texas has launched a gold depository for the state itself in Texas, talking about states making adjustments. It is obvious gold, precious metals has a huge place in the future as a place to store value and transition. You bring up a phenomenal point, Digital Boy. This is why I like y'all so much. Small but mighty artists and pioneers. Y'all be on top of it. Florida has passed legislation to make gold and silver legal tender. Texas has opened an entire depository for gold in the state to protect its citizenry and itself as a state, as a separate entity. Because you know Texas is all about that seceding. So they already are about seeing themselves as their own entity. So they've created a gold depository to back that up. Hell fee, my guy, I gotta read this. I'm not very familiar with Bitcoin, but I am being advised to buy gold ETFs, and the specific ones are named by your homeboy, Wall Street Trapper. My homeboy, because he's from New Orleans like me. So, Harold Fee, my good sir, gold ETFs are cool. They are not nearly the exposure level or the upside potential that pure play companies, meaning direct gold miners, gold and silver mining companies, will be and are. These companies will be more volatile. ETFs will probably be more stable, and they will rise as gold and silver rises, right? That's a fact. But if you're looking for real upside potential, then you're going to be looking for pure play stocks and the extra ownership of gold and silver. Pure play stocks are going to, again, be gold miners and silver miners directly producing the metals, directly extracting them out of the ground and producing them or turning them into something else. So as you get more confident and comfortable, that is going to be a good direction you want to go, is doing your research on pure play stocks and actually holding physical gold and silver, or at least buying it and having it stored with somebody else. Bitcoin, you can own directly as a digital asset in a wallet or some kind of cold storage, or you can do what I'm doing, where I feel more comfortable currently, and buy pure play stocks for Bitcoin, as well as ETFs in Bitcoin. They have ETFs that literally track the price of Bitcoin, and there's pure play stocks that are mining Bitcoin. Those are good places to consider. I didn't know Florida had initiated precious metals as legal tender. It's yes, as it can be negotiated. Yes. So if you, even parts of New Hampshire, by the way, have had small markets in New Hampshire where they still take gold and silver there as well. There are small communities all over the place that still respect gold and silver as tender. Florida has come out with a larger, like literally, DeSantis has literally come out saying that they've, passing legislation that gold and silver are legal tender. And I told you, you can do your research and look it up about the Texas Gold Depository vote that they put together in Texas. That's another big deal. And another really, Dakotas, I believe, also working on either like a legal tender situation or have proposed the idea of legal tender for gold and silver. It's happening, people. The adoption of gold and silver as money again is happening because the cracks in the financial system as it is are showing. It's showing itself. Yes, that's why I call him and Lil Wayne your homies. East New Orleans, y'all. I mean, listen. Shout out to my city, and shout out to everybody doing big things coming from my city. Shout out to the Wall Street Trapper. I paid attention to his content. And shout out to Lil Wayne. That's the greatest rapper to ever do it. That just is what it is. But yeah, for context purposes, for those of you who, you know, are coming in new. The point of the live stream was to get to as many people who are currently investing in gold and silver and Bitcoin, but have a debate between the two to cure that. Owning either side is going to be great, or both is great. For those of you who don't own precious metals yet in Bitcoin, as the video live stream is titled, the goal of this live stream was to encourage you to invest in both responsibly as possible, understanding now a base case as to why to hold them in the first place. This is why. The current financial order is not showing to be sustainable. The debt levels in the United States and globally are tremendous, well outside of economic production and well outside of the realistic means to be paid back. The government is bullshitting us when they tell us that they're going to pay back the national debt. It's not likely going to happen. It's not even mathematically possible at this point in time. Where the hell are they going to get the money from? So that's number one. The currencies are going to go down with it. The governments will continue to choose inflation as an economic, you know, backstop or functionality when things get rough. Whenever we hit a crisis, they're going to print more money. Whenever they need to handle the national debt, or they need to like make the debt more sustainable as far as how they're going to manage it or pay it, they're going to inflate away the currency. So these are baseline reasons to own Bitcoin and precious metals, and I wanted to bring that in this live stream. Y'all have done a tremendous job as always, commenting and chiming in with valuable insights, confirmations, information. I will continue to kind of touch on this topic. This channel is not converting into a Bitcoin channel or a gold silver channel. I will continue to cover finance, banking, investing, net worth strategies, you know, business strategies. I will continue to cover these things as a whole, but I am going to touch on, it's only doing you guys a service for me to actually cover these things and bring my insights and expertise around the broader picture. I can't just sit up here and talk about credit card limits and lending and getting you access to capital, real estate investing. All of that is great. But in all honesty, if we're looking at things as a whole, the financial system and the current order of things is not looking very stable. And I have to cover the full gamut of protecting your legacy, protecting your wealth, increasing your net worth, protecting your net worth. And the only way to do that is to have conversations about the whole thing. That includes precious metals, that includes Bitcoin, it includes starting, launching, growing a business. It includes owning real estate. It includes getting access to capital. It includes healthy relationships with banks, the whole thing. And this is one of the few channels on YouTube, if not the only channel on YouTube, where you have a credible financial expert with over 10 years of experience that is actually has the knowledge and experience to cover it all at one place and make it palatable to deliver to you in context. I tip my hat to you and thanks for listening. When it comes to precious metals like gold, it is cheaper in the Middle East at pure 21K and above. No, it's cheaper. Yeah, so that's the interesting thing, Lotus Flower, as we wrapping up. But precious metals in other parts of the world is embedded in the culture. The Middle East, Asia especially, notorious. India, China, gold, precious metals, jewelry. Those people are in love. It's literally baked into the culture. So, and that's not talking about the central banks. That's not talking about the governments. There's a lot of argument for precious metals. So, we appreciate your broad spectrum. They are directly related. Yes. Thank you, Harold Fee, as always. Yes. That is why my channel is the way it is. 750 plus us, or going on 750 uploads, all original content. And I've covered finance, banking, lending, investing from damn near every legitimate angle you can cover it. Everything from the basis of banking relationships and bank accounts to credit cards, to lending, to funding, to business banking, starting a business, funding a business, setting up a business, real estate investing, stocks, 401ks, precious metals, Bitcoin. I be damned. Somebody do me the honor of trying to show me somebody else who's legitimate and not trying to sell you something, by the way, that's covering everything that I'm covering on this channel. Feel free to drop it in the comment section down below. I would love to see who it is. I would love to find it. Somebody that's credible, that's not trying to sell you something, that covers as much as I cover on this channel. I truly want y'all to win. Am I a non-for-profit? Do I want to make money? Am I here to grow a brand? Absolutely. I am not shy about that at all. But at the end of the day, my brand is also backed by integrity. And I want every single one of y'all to win. And I take the time out to provide as much depth on these things as I can for you to actually be able to use this information for educational purposes only, of course. So yes, absolutely. It is all related, Harold Fee. Absolutely it is, for sure. It is absolutely related, and I'm glad you can see that. Thank you, Digital Boy. I appreciate you for tuning in and staying locked in. I hadn't seen you in a while, but it is an absolute honor to see you take the time out and dive in on this live stream and contribute greatly to the live stream. You left some great comments in the chat that help perpetuate this conversation. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of y'all. I genuinely do. Next live stream is going to be coming out on Sunday. I'll be talking to you about the next gold rush in the economic system, which is going to be trade skills, and how I've already shot a live stream about how trade skills are going to be the next gold rush in demand in the economy, and how to build a business as a business banker, how to situate yourself to build a business and invest in the opportunity that's coming with the booming trades arena, because there's a high demand for trade skill workers and a shortage of it. And there's going to be a ton of economic opportunity around that. So the next live stream will be Sunday discussing just that. But to each and every one of you, I appreciate you coming in. All my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I appreciate every single one of y'all. Y'all really are tremendous. Great, mature audience. I will take y'all in a small pocket over a large, ignorant audience any day. So I appreciate y'all. Anybody new catching the content, links to tie in with me on Instagram in the description below. All of you on the live stream, please go back when this video is dropped in a few minutes when I get off, and like the actual replay, because YouTube does not honor the video or like actually recognize the video until the replay comes out. So please drop some comments, drop some likes on the replay of the video. Harold Fee, you do a phenomenal job at that all the time. A couple of y'all do that all the time. So I really want y'all to go back and support the video on a replay. You don't have to rewatch it if you don't want to, but just go back and like it and drop a comment. But Digital Boy, James Murphy, Harold Fee, Lotus Flower, and a couple other people that jumped in here and jumped in the chat. Everybody that didn't let me know you're in the building, thank y'all for coming in. But a special thanks to the ones I just called out. Y'all are the real ones, for real. To all my pioneers, thank y'all. I want each and every one of y'all, as always, stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.